Good morning, fourth graders. This video will help you with drawing conclusions for Jim Thorpe's path. Read the passage, then answer the questions below. Thousands of years ago, in ancient Greece, sporting contests brought athletes together to represent their regions or city-states. The modern Summer and Winter Olympic Games are held every 4 years on a staggered schedule. Either a summer or a winter event occurs every 2 years. Countries from all over the world send their best athletes to compete. This modern Olympic tradition began over 100 years ago in 1894. At first, only amateur athletes were allowed to compete. But as of 1971, professional athletes were allowed to compete. Corporations now sponsor both amateur and professional athletes. Other changes have occurred along the way too. At each new Olympics, new sports have been added to the lineup of events. New Olympic sports include beach volleyball, skeleton sledding, and snowboarding. The Olympic Games may change, but they will always honor tradition. The official motto, still in ancient Greece, Siltius, Artius, Fortus, means faster, higher, stronger. Number 1, what conclusion can you draw about why the modern Olympics started? Now remember, when we're drawing conclusions, the answers are not stated directly in the text. So we use our background knowledge and what we read in the text to form a conclusion. So the first paragraph here talks about the modern Summer and Winter Olympics. So why did they start? Well, I read here that it gave them a chance for countries all over the world to send their best athletes to compete. So I would think the modern Olympics started because the modern Olympics started because countries wanted to show off their best athletes. There we go. And I'll just move that up a little bit so we can see the question below that. And let's fix how we spell countries. All right. So modern Olympics started because countries want to show off their best athletes. And how do I support that conclusion? Well, I came to that idea because it says the sporting contest brought athletes together to represent their regions or city-states. Countries from all over the world send their best athletes to compete. In the text, it says, and remember when I quote, I need to use, or when I copy from the text, I need to use quotes. Countries from all over the world send their best athletes to compete. So that is what supports my conclusion. It's from the text. I figured it out from countries from all over the world send their best athletes to compete. And so that's how I figured that out. And I copied it, so I had to put it in quotations. Remember, if I type too fast, you can always pause the video. Number 3, what conclusion can you draw about allowing professional athletes to compete? And so the second paragraph here talks about professional and amateur. Amateur athletes are athletes that are not pro sports players. So that would be kids that play on high school teams and in rec leagues. They're not professional. They don't get paid to play. Professional athletes get paid to play their sport. And so what conclusion can I draw about allowing professional athletes to compete? It says professional athletes were allowed to compete. Corporations now sponsor both amateur and professional athletes. But in the beginning, they weren't allowed. So let's think. Professional athletes were allowed to compete because large corporations nations could sponsor them and make money. And so I think that they started letting professional athletes compete because when they have more professional athletes, sponsors like Coca Cola and Nike and all of those famous brands, can get money if they have a famous athlete promoting their product. And so it says, what supports your conclusion? I'm going to write corporations now sponsor both amateur and professional athletes. In the text, it says, and I'm quoting again, corporations now sponsor both amateur, I think that's what it said, and professional athletes. Right. And so I think when they get sponsors, that's a money making thing. Number 5, on a separate sheet of paper, write about whether you think the countries competing against each other in the Olympic Games is a good or a bad thing. So this is your opinion. So you'll need to use a sentence starter. I think countries competing against each other, in the Olympic Games is a, and then you're going to write a good thing or a bad thing because is a thing because, and then you're going to have to finish that. I wouldn't put the lines there if I were you. You're going to either write good or bad. Then you need to explain why you think countries competing against each other in the Olympic Games are good or bad. And that's just your opinion. So as long as it makes sense, it'll be okay. All right. I hope this helps.